Now it's time to preview an upcoming game with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at another Kickstarter preview game. This time we're going to take a look at Battle for Souls by Robert Burke. This is a game in which heaven and hell are vying for souls. They're trying to influence souls to take them either to heaven or hell, which will be the way of scoring victory points in this game, amongst other ways of getting victory points. You're going to be spending soul points, holy or unholy points, to buy cards, using those points to influence the souls to reap them to heaven or hell, and at the end of it all, see who has the most victory points. Real quick, we'll take a look at the components of this game. Reminder, they are Kickstarter quality or prototype components. We'll see how the game plays, and then I'll come back here and sum it all up for you. So here you can see the setup for Battle of Souls. This is set up for 2 players. Now, you could technically have a 4-player game in which you're playing teams, but this is easier to show a 2-player game, and note that it can be played 2 or 4. It can actually be played 3, but it's not really recommended. Also note that these are prototype components. Now, this is essentially a game where one side is playing hell and the other side is playing heaven. And you're fighting over souls, which are these cards in the middle. We have the musician, we have the philanthropist, and we have the card that I can't pronounce. But essentially, you're going to be using cards from your hand in order to try and influence these souls to go to heaven or to go to hell and score victory points accordingly. When you play this game, you're going to start with several things. Each player is going to have either a devil, which is going to be one of these cards here, or correspondingly an archangel, which is really the same thing. But these cards are going to be cards you can use to influence different souls that are in play to increase or decrease, increase the amount of holy points or increase the amount of unholy points that that card has, which will be used as a currency to buy cards from your own side during the game. Each player is going to have also a deck of cards. These are called Temptation for the Devil player, or Virtue cards for the Heaven player. And you're going to have 5 of these at the start of the game. You're also going to have a little pile of victory point cards that you can earn in the game, a pile of sin cards for the Devil, or intercession cards for the Angel, and a pile of unholy relics or holy relics for the Devil and Angel correspondingly. Those will be cards you can buy through the game, which will give you special benefits. Now, as I said, each player has a hand of cards, and this is kind of like a set-making game. I'm actually going to put some of these aside for now and draw a couple more for you. But you're going to have cards that look like this. They're colored, and they have, for the Devil, basically a sin written on them. You can see gluttony, pride, sloth, lust, and another sloth. And these cards you're going to be collecting and trying to play out in order to get benefits on your turn. So each player will have these. For the Devil player, there'll be sins, and for the other player, the Angel player, there'll be virtues. And these are going to correspond to different characteristics on the cards that are out in play. On a player's turn, they're going to be able to do several things. And the first thing you can do on your turn is to use a Devil or Archangel you have in order to influence one of the souls in play. Now, we can see here, Memon here says you can give +1 to a greedy soul once per turn. Well, we just so happen to have a greedy soul here. You can see because on the bottom, he has the matching color, and it says greed. So he can give +1 unholy point to this greedy soul. And he would do this by moving the die down to the unholy side, and it shows 1 point. After this, you can go ahead and purchase cards by using the unholy or holy points, depending on which side you are. So if you're the Devil, unholy points in order to buy cards. But you can buy intercession or holy relic cards. Or if you're the Devil, you can buy sin or unholy relic cards. So you'll see here that these cards have a cost. It's 2 unholy points for a sin card, or 3 unholy points for an unholy relic card. And you can buy these, and they'll give you special abilities on your turn, but since he doesn't have any one soul with this many unholy points, he can't do this. But if later on he were to have a soul with 4 points, he could reduce the points by 2 to buy a sin, or by 3 to buy an unholy relic, and he would have the appropriate amount of points left. Let's say he bought an unholy relic. And these cards look like this. In the top right-hand corner, you can see there's a shield which shows you how many victory points it's worth. In addition, it has the name, and it tells you it's an unholy relic, and then it tells you what the ability of it is, and it says twice per game you can use this card on any neutral soul in play, meaning that it doesn't have any holy or unholy points on it. You can roll the die on that chosen neutral soul, and then you can add that number rolled as unholy points to this soul. So basically, this is going to be a very powerful card that twice per game you can roll a die on a neutral soul and add that many unholy points. That was a bad roll, but you get the idea. It's going to give you more points to spend in order to get more cards. These relics usually have multiple uses, which you can track with these cubes here. Now noting that all of these are prototype components. Sin cards are going to have a couple of different types. We'll scroll through here real fast and find the couple different types of sin cards you can use. There are going to be some that have colored borders like this. When you buy them for the 2 unholy points, you'll get them in front of you. It has a victory point value that you'll get after you use the card, but you'll notice they also have a border on them that matches some of the colors of cards in the games. There's cards that are this reddish color, and then there are cards that are purple and blue and other different colors. You can use this when making a set of cards, which you'll do later on your turns, but you can also use it at the end of your turn in order to increase Wrath or Pride, or decrease the holy points of Patience or Humility, the matching colors on these cards. So if the holy player had managed to get some Patience points on here, you could use this card to decrease his Patience points and make sure those points are gone before he can spend them. In addition to those, there are going to be cards, these have to be used by the end of your turn. There are also going to be cards that have, a certain amount of uses per game. So this one says once per game, Gossip can subtract up to 2 holy points from any soul in play and add up to 2 unholy points to the same soul. So basically, any other soul in play. So you can subtract holy points and add holy points accordingly. So buying these cards is going to give you ways to manipulate the souls in play. Some of them will let you take souls, some of them will let you add holy or unholy points. But basically, you're going to be trying to manipulate the values of these souls in order to buy cards and to claim the souls in order to get more victory points, as you can see on them. After you've spent points, if you have enough points to spend, you're going to move on to the next round of the game, which is going to be playing a set of cards or drawing cards or discarding cards. Now, playing sets of cards can be a little bit complicated. There are several different types of card sets you can play, but they're basically going to be your different types of poker hands and several other different things. You can see them all here, but I'm going to real quickly try and cover the ideas. You can play a pair of cards, and playing a pair of cards is going to let you take a victory point card into your discard pile. It's just simply a way to get victory points. So if you play a pair of cards, for example, a pair of Sloth would let me get a victory point card. You could also play 2-pair. Now, I don't have 2-pair, but if I had my Sloth and a pair of Gluttonies, I could play those to my discard pile, and that would allow me to get a free Sin or Intercession card, and also draw my hand back up to 5 cards, and take another turn of playing another set, and I'd have to play another set. If I were to play 3 different colors, for example, this way, I could add 1 holy or unholy point to any soul in play that matched one of the cards that I played. So for example, if I had played, these are unholy, so if I had played these 3 cards, I could add an unholy point to Pride here. Now you can only add points to souls that are neutral, so if a player already had a holy point, you could not add unholy points to it as well, nor could you neutralize it with unholy points. You would have to start neutral and move it to the unholy side if you are the devil player. Note they can only be holy or unholy and can't be influenced from one to the other without some special cards that first neutralize them. You can also play a set of 4 different colors. So for example, we could play these 4 different colors and influence a soul in the same way. But this one, in this case, would allow me to do Gluttony if I wanted to. And that would allow me to add 2 unholy points to the soul if he was already neutral. You can also play 5 different colors. And if you have 5 different colors, it's 3 unholy points that you can add. From that point on, you move into the of a kind, so 3 of a kind. And for example, with 3 of a kind, you could add 3 holy or unholy points to one soul, or you could remove 1 holy or unholy point. So having matching cards, for example, if I had 3 Sloth, would allow me to either add points, a lot of points for myself, or remove points from the other player to prevent them from buying things. A full house, being 3 of a kind and a pair, would allow me to get a free holy or unholy relic. So I could buy one of these cards for free by playing those cards. In addition, it would allow me to add 3 holy or unholy points to a single soul that matched one of the virtues that I played. So for example, if I'm playing all of the same type, I guess in a full house it'd be 3 and 2, so I could choose one of the 2 and add 3 holy or unholy points to that soul, or I could remove a holy or unholy point from any soul in play to prevent my opponent from buying things. 4 of a kind is going to allow you to add, to get at first a free holy or unholy relic, which is going to be the same for 5 of a kind, and it's also going to let you add 4 or 5 points, holy or unholy points respectively, or subtract points from your opponent, being 2 or 3 points respectively. So if you subtract points, you get less than if you'd added points. But basically, you're going to be trying to manipulate these by playing sets of cards from your hand in order to increase or decrease the points. Now, if at any point you're able to get a soul all the way up to 7, meaning that you can't go up any higher on the die of either holy or unholy points, you're immediately going to claim that soul for your own, reaping it, which would move it out from this side, Putting it in your score pile, well, you'll get the 3 points. And you actually get a new Devil or Archangel card if you've done this. So you'll get to convert them into a Devil or Archangel, which will give you another option at the beginning of your next turn of which of the souls you can influence up or down in terms of getting more points on them. And then you would reveal a new soul from there. Instead of playing cards, you could draw a card if you're under 8 cards, or you could discard cards from your hand, which is useful once you start to accumulate victory point cards, once you've shuffled your deck and gone back through, or if you just have cards you don't want to play. After you've gone through playing your set of cards, you're going to move on to the next step, which is using one intercession card, or in the case of the Devil, the Sin cards. And you can use the ability on one of these cards that you've got out face up in front of you. If it's one of the ones that only lasts until the end of the turn, you're going to want to make sure you use it because it'll disappear eventually and become victory points for you. That's the special intercession or Sin cards that only last until the end of the turn. After you've done that, you can use the ability of one holy or unholy relic card that you've got in place. So if you've bought any of these good holy or unholy relic cards, you can use one of them that you have in play, making sure to place the cube on it to show that you've used it, and doing the appropriate action that it states on it to, either manipulate souls in play. Some of them let you straight up take a soul from play and score it. Some of them let you pull souls out of purgatory, which I'll cover in a moment. But essentially, they'll let you manipulate the way the game is played. After you've gone through the holy or unholy relics, you can do what's called playing a reap card. Now, these are the cards that I set aside originally, and they look like this. They are cards like this, and you have several of them in your deck, and they say reap on them. They are special cards that are not used for making sets, but are going to allow you to take souls from in play if they have the appropriate number of holy or unholy points on them. So if you don't spend all of your holy or unholy points, for example, let's say this guy has 5 unholy, this guy has 4 holy, and this guy has 1 unholy. If you haven't spent all of your points, you can go ahead and reap souls. And what you're going to do here is it says, when reap card is played, all souls in play must be reaped or resolved. And you're going to go ahead and play, or only be able to play a card if they've met certain conditions, which are each soul in play, or one soul in play has more than 4 points on it, which 2 of them here do, or all souls in play have at least 1 holy point, or all souls in play have at least 1 unholy point. Well, we're matched for all of those things, so we can play this reap card. And what's going to happen is we're going to resolve all of the souls in play. And if they have over 4 points in either direction, it's going to be reaped by the appropriate player. So this card here would be reaped by the Devil player, and they would get the points for it at the end of the game. This card here would be reaped by the Angel player, and they'd get the points for that at the end of the game. And this card here is not influenced enough one way or the other to be reaped, but is still going to get set aside into purgatory and potentially be removed later by holy relic cards or unholy relic cards that let you pull cards out of purgatory. In this case, you're going to flip out 3 more souls, and those will be available for influence in the next round of play, and you'll continue on with the game, setting all of these back to neutral with the 1 die in the center of each of the souls, so that they are ready to be influenced by the players. After you've gone through the potential reap stage of the game by playing a reap card, if you happen to have one in your hand and you want to reap and meet all of the conditions, you're going to go ahead and draw your hand back up to 5 cards if you're under 5 cards. At that point, you're going to end your turn, and turn will pass to the other player, who will perform the same steps of going through using one of their angels or devils in order to move souls up or down, purchasing cards and playing sets of cards using sin and intercession cards or holy relics and unholy relics to influence souls and potentially reap them, and scoring points until you've gone through all of the souls that are in this deck. So you'll see there's several souls here, each of them with different virtues: humility and greed, temperance and lust, diligence and lust, chastity and envy, all of them having different virtues and sins that you can use your cards to try and influence one way or the other to get them sent to heaven or hell. And whoever gets the most victory points by claiming the most souls, getting the most victory point cards by playing pairs and having them included in their deck, or getting intercession and sin, holy and unholy relic cards that have victory points on them, is going to be the winner. Well, there you have it. That is Battle for Souls by Robert Burke. A game with a very unique theme, one that I like quite a bit. In terms of how it plays out. You have the 2 opposed sides, heaven and hell, vying for the neutral souls, trying to influence them as much as possible in order to take them and score points for them in the grand scheme of good and evil. The way that the game plays out, adding cards or buying those cards using the points, which are your currency, but also trying to get the points high enough in order to reap the souls, really balances out. You have to focus enough on keeping those point values high or low, enough unholy or holy points in order to reap the souls eventually to get the victory points, but you also really need to spend those points in order to get the cards that will advance your ability to add more holy or unholy points to the cards later. So there's definitely some conflict there in whether you want to spend the points or keep the points accumulating in order to score victory points. Overall, I think that the cards are very well themed, the artwork is great, and that the game is got some interesting aspects to it for sure. The game is currently out on Kickstarter. I think they're about halfway funded. They're looking for more support. So if this sounds interesting to you, you like the theme and what you saw in terms of gameplay mechanics, head on over to their Kickstarter page, see what levels of support you can get, and pledge accordingly. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.